The latest series I've worked on is Zoo. It was inspired by a book that Gary Winogrand did. Remember, I may have mentioned him early on as a street photographer influence, and he was an obsessive photographer. Used a Leica. Lived in New York City, so he photographed the Bronx Zoo and Aquarium, and did this lovely little book. It's only about 30 or 40 pictures called The Animals back in the 60s that I've always thought was a pure statement, a complete statement. A lot of humor in the book. So I decided to photograph. I couldn't see where anybody had done a real sort of modern street view, black and white look at zoos. So I went to about 14 zoos in the country. Started with the Anchorage Zoo. I'll show you that picture here in a minute. But this is down in Seattle, um, at the gorilla area, the young gorilla, and people watching it. And, sometimes you can sense that things are going to happen. And I just worked this hard while I was shooting to I could see the reflections, hoping something would work, and it's this little girl's face photographing on the gorilla's head through the plexiglass. When Winogrand photographed zoos, there was no plexiglass. And now, in many cases, the people and the animals are only inches apart, and it makes for interesting visuals. This was the picture that started my zoo project. Yeah, sorry, as soon as I start doing these slideshows, I start yawning, and I can't stop that effect, so I just have to keep going. Something about talking to yourself to a screen. But this was taken in Anchorage. I was with my kids at the zoo there and photographing the two-hump camel, whose name I forget, or it's not dromedary, but whatever it is. And, I'm always looking to do a picture that's a little different and not the one that's predictable. And so came back with this and really liked it, and again had looked at Winogrand's book a lot. So that launched me on the zoo thing. One thing you see, this was taken, I think, actually in Portland, but these are everywhere. Could have been Anchorage, I'm not sure. They sell these little cheap raincoats with animals on them at every zoo in case you're there during the rain. This again is playing off that plexiglass glass idea. Same gorilla pen, different time, different trip, but a woman, human woman on the left and a gorilla on the right, and a piece of plexi you really can't see in between. I think the apes get the raw deal at the zoo and they know it, so they're often turn your back to you like the ape was doing here, or they just are lying there staring because they'd rather be in the wild. In Chicago, this old rhino, and one of the funny things about zoos to me is they build these enclosures. This is downtown Chicago. They put this cement wall thing together that I guess is supposed to look like some cliff face in Africa or something, but kind of doesn't quite work, but I guess it does. I think these pictures are a lot about the enclosures for the animals as much as the animals. There's a tiger duck into the grass in Portland again. I think this was down in Phoenix, I believe. I'm not going to tell you where every one of them is because I forget without looking. But this is a crocodile. And this is an elephant with some really big bars keeping it from other elephants that it doesn't get along with, also in Portland. Okay, I told you another zoo. I'm going to keep telling you some when I remember. Seattle Aquarium, new flippers for the penguins. Back to the gorilla area in Seattle. This was in Chicago. An old lion in Chicago, and they'd whitewashed the plexi so the lion, I assume, probably had poor eyesight or something, and it kept it from bumping into it. So now it rubs against it and scratches that plexi along. One of the things about the plexi is it does reflect. So this is a I can't think of the name. A tapir in Seattle, I think. Yeah, Seattle, and it's kind of hard to see both the tapir and its eye and this not tear but moisture coming out of its eye and the people at the same time. For me, I kind of go back and forth. They're reflecting the plexi with their astonished faces. Down in Atlanta, the Atlanta Zoo, this gorilla is thumping. Most of these pictures were made with a simple little wide-angle lens and a little 4/3 point-and-shoot kind of camera. This one I actually shot with a Canon and a longer lens that I hadn't had with me. This one as well. I think this very much looks like a prison, and I think that's how it probably feels to the apes. All he needs is a cigarette dangling from his lips. And orangutan in Atlanta. No, or Phoenix. That's in Phoenix. This also in Phoenix, and as well as this. As well as this. If you remember the cover of the book, it was of somebody dropping a peanut Winogrand's book, Peanut into an Elephant's Trunk, and this was sort of my homage to Winogrand's pictures of an older senior lady giving the giraffe something, but actually kind of holding its tongue. It's a fellow in the Bronx Zoo where Gary Winogrand did his pictures. I went there as a tribute, and this was also in the Bronx Zoo, as was this. This is down in Birmingham, Alabama. This is the National Zoo in D.C. I'll end it on this one. People always ask me about this picture. You know, you're supposed to have the answers because you took the picture, but how did that bear come up in that sludge pond, which was just algae, so I doubt it was really hurting anything, but how did it come up so clean without algae hanging all over its fur? And I have no clue. I'll leave you to figure that out. Thank you.